Algebra 2, 3.2b on the back, numbers 23 and 24 are the ones I'm going to do here in this video. These are both factoring problems. And 23, they give you a pretty big hint. They give you this parentheses squared. What that tells us is that when we do factor, originally we would have two sets of parentheses. This square tells us that these are both going to be exactly the same. So when we look at the numbers we're dealing with, to get the x's here in front, since this hint told us they're the same, you're looking for the number that multiplies by itself to give 16. In other words, you're taking the square root, which is 4. 4x times 4x gives us 16x squared. Now the other numbers come from this last term, the 1. Again, it has to be the same thing, so it's 1 and 1, because those are the only things that will multiply together to give a 1. The signs are both positive, so everything is positive, and now 4x plus 1, 4x plus 1 match, they're the same. So when I'm done factoring, my answer is the quantity 4x plus 1 squared. Number 24 is kind of the harder version of factoring, where it's not any neat little pattern. Here, it's not going to work out nice and easy. There, you have the number in front of x squared. There's no kind of pattern like we had with the square from number 23. So the first thing I'm going to do is the diamond. Now the diamond makes me take this 8x squared, multiply by that last one, I get negative 24x squared. The middle term goes on the bottom, negative 5x. Now these two, when I'm setting it up, have to multiply to give me negative 24 and add to give me negative 5. And that would be, I think it's, yeah, that's negative 8x, positive 3x. Now the next step, there's a lot of different ways to factor. The next step depends on how you learned it. Now some people learn the box. What I'm going to show is factoring by grouping. I'm going to rewrite the 8x squared. This negative 5x is going to be split up into what I got here and here. It's going to become negative 8x plus 3x, and then that minus 3 goes on the end. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this down the middle, and I want to factor something that's common out of each of those. So if you look at these, the 8's, notice the 8 is in common, and they both have an x. So I'm going to factor 8x out of those two. When I do that, I get inside x minus 1. 8x times x is 8x squared. 8x times negative 1 is negative 8x. Then the same thing on the other side. Now this was plus 3x. I'm going to factor out the common factor. The common factor is a 3. Positive 3. There's no x because this one didn't have an x. X minus 1. Now notice that these two parentheses match. They're the same thing, x minus 1. That's what you want to have happen. That gives us one of our factors in the final answer. The other factor comes from what came out of each one. We had an 8x that came out here. That goes first. And then we had a positive 3 that came out here. There it is, plus 3. So our final answer is the quantity of 8x plus 3 times the quantity of x minus 1 when we're done factoring.